Oh, what's going on here? Uh-oh, this don't look good.
On Monday, a federal judge dismissed a lawsuit seeking to overturn the United States' long-standing prohibition of marijuana on the grounds that the ban was unconstitutional. A U.S. judge ruled that the lawsuit must be dismissed because the plaintiffs had failed to use administrative procedures within the DEA to challenge the ban. The plaintiffs include the parents of 2 children who use marijuana to treat illnesses. Their attorney said that restricting the plaintiffs from the use of marijuana is equivalent to a death sentence for those patients who need cannabis to live.
Well, looks like the judge took the easy way out. So, yeah, that happened. And then I needed some cheering up, so I went out to the mailbox, and guess what I found there? Package from Colorado, from One Love Organics. Let's see what we got here. My soap came, yay. Thank you. You're welcome, thank you. In case you didn't know, Alexis Bortell has a little thing going where they make organic products like soap. Here's the soap. Smells great. Let's see, this was the Celebration Luxury Hemp Soap Artisan line. Excellent. And after you open it, I don't know if you can see, there's a card inside with the soap. Ta-da! And about us. One Love Organics is our family farm located in the mountains of Colorado. Our family is part of a little-known community known as Medical Refugees, meaning we had to move between states for medical reasons. A portion of all product sales go to our Patches of Hope project, which feeds free organic food to families in need. And there's links to that, and you can find One Love Organics on the World Wide Web at oneloveorganics.com. And love is just LUV, as you can see. And on Instagram, One Love Organics, and on Twitter at OneLoveO. Yeah, the whole story's here. I'll leave a link in the description. It's a good way to support the cause. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Just there's a few things in here that I'd like to let you know. Is that they use only the highest quality oils and produce many of their ingredients as they can right there on the farm. They use organic practices in all their farming activities and now have officially certified USDA organic for all of our vegetables, fruits, and herbs. We are a veteran-owned family located high in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, and you can follow us at these locations. So, Alexis was busy tweeting today, and this is what she's saying. This is kind of expected that this wasn't going to get out of the district court in New York, and that it was going to go to the Second Court of Appeals, and then probably eventually, yes, the Supreme Court. Because, I mean, as easy as the judge copped out of this one with the, I call it the, the wild goose chase that the alphabet organizations put you on. Oh, you go to these guys, they'll help you there. And then you get there and they tell you to go to somebody else, and then they tell you to go to someone else. Sooner or later, someone tells you to write your congressman or whatever. Like, that's what Jeff Sessions, it'll get to him, and he'll say, well, you guys got to write your congressman, don't you know? As a matter of fact, the first video I ever made, is when the DEA already said no, and that was way back in August of 2016. So what was she saying? She was saying, here's one of her tweets from 8 hours ago. Thank you, and we knew whatever happened, it would get appealed. No reason to panic. Mike Hiller, Esquire, and his whole team will take care of the appeal. I am asking to physically go to the appeal hearing. There, news. So thank you for the headline. So I guess the headline we get out of this is that Alexis is definitely trying to go to the Court of Appeals hearing. No telling when that'll be or whatever, so we'll keep looking out for that. Here's another one. All the way to the Supreme Court if I have to. I mean it. Everyone smile because we already knew we were going to the Second Circuit of Appeals. We are right. Don't worry, we will win. And then the lead lawyer in the case here, Michael Hiller. We're all obviously disappointed with the decision in the federal cannabis lawsuit, but we always knew that the trajectory of this case would pass through the Second Circuit and ultimately the SCOTUS. We remain confident that once there, the final outcome will be the right one. So there you go. And if you really want to support Alexis personally, I guess, and what she's doing with One Love Organics and Patches of Hope, you can order products over here at One Love. They have all kinds of stuff. And yeah, so that's basically my take. I guess I got my take out there. The judge basically took the cop out and sent us on the wild goose chase, like the federal government always does. And I'll just kick the can down the road type stuff that they do. It's a strategy, actually, and it's a really good strategy because they know that the government works in slow ways. Like I said, I don't know when this Court of Appeals date is going to be for the preliminary hearing or whatever they have to do there. It's almost like starting all over at a new court. That's what the government does when they don't want the people to get their way, as they send you on a wild goose chase, and this is for Alexis. This is just another one of those lessons that you're learning as you are getting older and smarter and know how these people operate. And I just can't admire this little girl enough for sticking to her guns and being brave and fighting this. So that's awesome. And yeah, the wild goose chase begins afresh, because what got us to the 2016 decision by the DEA was the same string of events that eventually someone said, well, go ask them. So we went and asked them, and then they kicked us down this thing where the DEA basically said, hey man, you got to talk to Congress and make them change the laws. So we tried that, and we ran into another brick wall with Pete Sessions. Now he's the biggest brick wall we got, and that's why we tried to go like around the brick wall or tunnel under it, or catapult over it. Whatever we tried to do here with this court case in the the federal court case in Manhattan. But like she said, it would probably, no matter if they would have won, then the federal government would have appealed it. So this judge basically just kind of passed the buck. And now, having said all that, I'm going to read some copy anyway. A federal judge in New York tossed out a sweeping lawsuit Monday that sought to make marijuana legal under federal law, ruling that the plaintiffs had failed to take the necessary first step in asking the Drug Enforcement Administration to remove cannabis from its list of dangerous substances. See, that's so... I know it wasn't this particular group of people that asked, but I know the judge knows this. It happened. We got kicked back by them. They decided, the DEA themselves decided that no, cannabis does not have any medical value. So if we wanted to, we could go back through them armed with this federal judge that said, hey, obviously that's bullshit. So, I mean, maybe that's something that the judge is trying to like, hey, put this together and go. But who knows? The ruling by Judge Alvin K. Hallerstein of the Federal District Court in Manhattan was a stinging defeat for the plaintiffs, among them a former professional football player who owns a company that sells pot-based pain relievers, a 12-year-old girl who treats her chronic epilepsy with medical marijuana, and a nonprofit group that works on behalf of minorities in the marijuana industry. Though several courts have ruled in the past against similar litigation, the suit dismissed on Monday was passing through the courts as the Trump administration reversed an Obama-era policy and, in January, encouraged federal prosecutors to go after marijuana sellers, even in states that have legalized the drug, imperiling the viability of the country's multi-billion-dollar pot industry. The suit filed in July employed some novel legal arguments, including a claim that the country's marijuana laws have traditionally discriminated against minorities and have long precluded people who use cannabis for their illnesses from boarding airplanes, which are regulated by the federal government. Now, the thing about this statement is this is the New York Times, so it's a loaded statement, of course. Some novel legal arguments. They're trying to say that the legal arguments here were some creative, crafty things that are out of desperation or some kind of, I don't know, vein. But in my opinion, I think that these arguments were valid and they were legitimate, and to downplay them the way that the New York Times just did here is just typical for them. It's just that's what I would expect from their reporting. So just kind of disregard that. And that's why I do this channel, is because I got fed up with this kind of reporting about cannabis a long time ago. I mean, every other time they call it something, it's pot. Do you use pot for your illness? I mean, come on. What the hell is pot anyway? Make it sound stupid. It's the dumbest sounding. It's the dumbest word there is for cannabis, for real. I'm starting to get sick of cannabis because I got to say it so much to correct these other people, but just quit it already. In a 20-page opinion, Judge Hallerstein said that his decision did not address the plaintiff's central argument that marijuana has medical benefits and thus should not be classified under the 1970 Controlled Substances Act and the so-called Schedule I drug, the category reserved for the most pernicious substances. Judge Hallerstein noted, for example, that the 12-year-old girl, Alexis Bortell, used to have several epileptic seizures a day, but after treating herself with medical marijuana, quote, she has gone nearly 3 years without a single seizure. Rather, the judge said, under the federal rules, the plaintiffs were bound to ask the DEA to declassify marijuana as a Schedule I drug, and they did not. The DEA rejected a similar request in a separate case in 2011 and again in 2016. It's pretty sad. And I remember the one in 2011 where the DEA administrator was getting grilled, answer the question, is marijuana as dangerous as heroin? And the DEA guy just continuously stalled and tried to talk around it or whatever. It's just annoying. In his opinion, Judge Hallerstein quoted colleagues Judge Elizabeth A. Wolford of the Federal District Court in Rochester, who ruled 2 years ago that while marijuana has clear medical purpose, Congress and the DEA still have a right to regulate it. Sadly enough, though, Pete Sessions won't let us use our Congress. That's our Congress, Pete Sessions. That's our Congress. We're supposed to be the ones that use the Congress for things that we want. And clearly, when you look at the polling, the public is on board. If you ask the public about this particular case, I bet you'd be somewhere above 98% of the population would be like, yeah, this is obviously they got a good case here, and this needs to go away. Schedule I needs to go away. The 98-page lawsuit presented its case for legalization not only through a host of constitutional arguments, but also by way of history for marijuana's first purported role 10,000 years ago in the production of Taiwanese pottery to the smoking habits of President Obama in his younger days. It pointed out that the ancient Egyptians used the drug to treat eyesores and hemorrhoids, and that Thomas Jefferson puffed it for his migraines. Oh, the wording. James Madison credited Sweet Hemp for giving him insight to create a new and democratic nation, the suit noted. Yes, that's what it does. You smoke weed and you want to start a revolution. That's why the government don't like it, man. That's why the government wants to not let you have it, even for medicine, even for the sickest of people, even the part of marijuana that don't even get you high. The government just wants nothing to do with this awesome substance because they want to sell you addiction. They want to sell you death. They want to sell you things that they can make in labs and make in little laboratories and stamp out hundreds of millions of hits of it and just dump it out on the public. And that's what they want. That's what they're into, because the corrupt corporations that run pharmaceuticals own the government. All right. We all talk about this all the time in subtle terms and in almost innuendos, but I'm telling you, Big Pharma owns the government. And when these judges do these cop-outs and when the DEA passes the buck over to Congress and Pete Sessions is in there blocking it, that's all Big Pharma saying, we don't want your natural remedies. We don't want your medicine. We don't want people growing their own medicine. We don't want people being able to sustain an existence by using a plant when we can sell you everything that we want and tax it, and their corrupt lobbies are sticking money in our offshore bank accounts. So just like everything, the kids are coming to save the day. Judge Hellerstein, however, seemed to be leaning towards rejecting the plaintiff's arguments when he held oral arguments earlier this month. In court, he appeared to agree with lawyers from the Justice Department who maintain that if plaintiffs wanted to legalize marijuana, they should try to change the law. Tell that to Pete Sessions, all right? And, the funny thing is the reason Pete Sessions is there is because, not just because of the pharma money pushing him there and maintaining his existence there, but it's also because Pete Sessions is a willing culprit. He knows he has to get up there and say some unsavory things that are complete bullshit, but he'll do it because he knows that, that if it went to a vote, that if anything to do with marijuana went to a vote, it would pass. Game over, end of story. Full stop. It would be the end of it. If the Marijuana Justice Act was able to go up for a vote in the House and the Senate, that shit would be flying colors. I guarantee it. Any of the amendments that have been passing pretty handily since 2014 and even before that would for sure pass 100% if you tried to put it into a bill and just make that a law. All the new amendments that are trying to do things for banking and CBD laws and the descheduling, those would all pass. Everything that Pete Sessions has stopped from going up for a vote would have passed. I can say that with 100% certainty. So, that's pretty much what they're doing, is they're giving you the old runaround, and it's not funny. It's really just a slap in the face. Actually, Hiller says it best, and I'll get to that in a minute. There's like one more article that I'm going to pull a quote or two from, maybe. So Joseph A. Bondi, a lawyer for the plaintiffs, said he and his partners might appeal Judge Hellerstein's rule or ask him to reconsider his decision. The bottom line is that we think the judge neglected parts of our argument that were of critical importance, Mr. Bondi said. We believe in our claims, and we are going to push the ball forward. So that's the corporately sponsored, CIA backed, CIA approved New York Times for you. Here's the Daily News over in New York. Now, when we look at the coverage, the full coverage of this, we notice that we have the New York Times, the U.S. News and World Report, IB Times, Forbes, Cannabis Business Times, and then a bunch of New York papers. Because, the federal court is in New York, so that's kind of to be expected. Some weed news blogs, and, it's a fairly big story. I mean, it seems like it was a bigger story just to say that this is happening, and now we're into the slow incremental process of this coming to a conclusion. And I think you can safely say that we've made a pretty good first step, and that the publicity for this so far has been nothing but positive for the plaintiffs and nothing but ugly, negative. I'm trying my hardest not to just swear like a sailor over here. So here's Michael Hiller right here. He's the awesome lawyer that's doing wonderful things for all these plaintiffs. His team of lawyers are just very dedicated to this, as dedicated to this case as I've ever seen activist weed lawyers in my life. I don't think I've ever seen anybody more dedicated. But anyway, Michael Hiller, lead attorney for the plaintiffs, said that they would appeal this decision. Quote, resigning the plaintiffs to the petitioning administrative process is tantamount to a death sentence for those patients who need cannabis to live, said Hiller, who had earlier argued that the administrative process takes an average of 9 years. In a statement, Bellin called for the ruling. Bellin is also a plaintiff in the case. He's the Army veteran who would have committed suicide had he not discovered the benefits of medical marijuana. So this guy's still alive, and what he had to say is that it's just the beginning. We are on the right side of history, and we'll take this fight to the Supreme Court if necessary. I'm pretty sure that this is going to have to go to the Supreme Court no matter what. Like, on the appeals court side, what the appeals court looks at is, hey, was the dismissal legitimate or not? That's what they're looking at. And if they say the dismissal was legitimate, that could be bad news. But I think either way, whatever decision is made there, you go to the Supreme Court. You just have to go to the appeals court first. That's just the way it works. Yeah, man. I do believe that is all I had on that. And once again, you can swing on over to Facebook to One Love Organics. You can go right to their website. And by the way, I live in Michigan, and this is a Colorado address on this invoice. Like, it was shipped directly from Colorado. There's no, like, they don't have a warehouse right outside of my town where they ship stuff out. So I placed this order on the 23rd, and I got it on the 26th. So not even 4 days, not even 3 days. And I got my soap, and I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm pretty excited about this case, and I'm pretty excited about this story, and I'm really excited about Alexis Bortell. She also has a book available, Let's Talk About Medical Cannabis, available on Amazon. But I will link a couple of links to all of this in the description, and I will keep you updated on anything else that happens with this story for sure.